maybe I'll actually check where to share my screen. Not that used to using Zoom, but supposedly I can share here. And then screen 2 now. Okay, good. So, nice to meet you all. My name is Janina Luoto. I'm the CEO of Islet Group. I'm soon going to tell of the company a little bit more, but probably first starting with my own background and then a little bit telling also my career story to you. So I was a little bit kind of preparing the session, and therefore I want to also, I gathered kind of a couple of points what I would like to cover with you. And maybe I'll just a little bit show before going into details more what I was planning to cover. So my background, as said, and career story. Then I will tell a little bit of Islet as a company, and then about more details about Islet's diversity and inclusion culture and how is it built. And then I took this role of woman in tech. I know that this is not necessarily only about women, this discussion on diversity, but I just wanted to take some examples there. And feel free to actually ask questions in between also, because that would be nice to have it kind of more like a dialogue than just mono talk. So I hope to get questions already before kind of before the end of the presentation. Okay, good. So let's go to my background and career story and Islet as a company. So first of all, please you can see on the right upper side my LinkedIn. X I won't use anymore. Actually, it was unnecessarily there. But if you want to connect with me in LinkedIn, please do. That would be nice. I'm very active there and also sharing a lot of content there. One of the recent things last year, if we think of awards, I was awarded as the Power Woman with the Power Woman Award in Finland. So this is a Microsoft's global award, which is trying to inspire women to be and to become kind of contributors and to come on the technology industry and work in the technology industry. So I was really admired and really surprised that I got it. It was a good, really a great honor to have it. Then, if we go back to my own, if we start from the beginning, I'm originally from Finland. I did my master's degree in Aalto University. And then I started my career. First, I was working actually for one of the utility companies and electricity companies in Finland called Fortum and their corporate financial services unit. I didn't even put it there. And then later on, I moved to Eltel. One thing I wanted to say, because your students, or most of you probably also obviously have work experience of some kind, but still what I wanted to say is that I really didn't know after high school where I want to go and, with what type of companies I want to work with. So initially I went to Helsinki School of Economics because, or back then it was called that, but nowadays Aalto University, where I graduated from. I went there because I thought that I have a lot of options in my life after that. So I can then have a three to 4 extra years to choose. And that's why I went to study finance. But I did only until my bachelor's degree. And then I started to work full time already. And then I already kind of knew that I want to live abroad. That was one. I wanted to work for a high-tech company, something to do with high-tech, and preferably for a company where I had good possibilities to do career advancement. So I chose Eltel, and actually Eltel is building telecom and electricity networks mainly in the Nordics, but they had a unit which is doing work only outside of Europe. So I joined that unit, and very soon after joining Eltel, I actually started to work with countries like Philippines, Armenia, Moldova, African countries, Iran, Indonesia. So like a lot of different countries apart from, or a lot of developing countries apart of and outside of Europe. And I went to do a management study. I was really young back then, like 20. So I went to do management study in Indonesia. That's supposed to be a 3-month study where I was practically promising that I will tell the management team that what they should do in Asia Pacific area with the company. And what happened was that I spent 3 months there. I worked days and nights. I tried to figure out what has been happening in the current company that was established back then there, and the backgrounds, and then also do kind of like summary of recommended strategies to go forward. And then I went to represent these different options to the management, and practically they chose my recommendation in the end. And then I thought that yes, now I'm coming back to Finland. And it was really a shock when we were going to a skyscraper on with the lift, and actually the main owner of the joint venture that was operating there in Central Java was asking me that can you stay here and implement the strategy. So then in the end I thought first no, but then I slept overnight, and then in the end I said yes. So I stayed actually in Indonesia as an expatriate for a year. We were practically having a joint venture company in Java is the biggest island in Indonesia. So in Central Java, we were building telephone network, and I was the CFO of that company and implementing the strategy that the company wished to do within the APAC area. So that was my first expatriate experience. After that, I came back to Finland. I was in Finland for 5 months. They gave me this really kind of, because before going to Indonesia, I was doing quite basic stuff. I was like export controlling coordinator or something like that. So then they didn't want to offer me that job anymore. They offered me to run their infra business. Probably they had seen what I did in Indonesia, so that's why they wanted that. I was 23 or 24, and practically the infra business consisted of 8 white men who were all 55 to 60 who were tower engineers. So I was like thinking in my head that is this really real, that I'm like half of their age and I need to lead this business area. But I mean, for some reason they were really supportive and they really positive in it. So then I said, okay, yes. But at that time I had, so as a part of my studies, I had done in Canada exchange in Montreal. And I did my studies in HEC Montréal, which is kind of Helsinki School of Economics in Montreal. And practically I met my back then boyfriend there. So I already knew then that, okay, I'll move to Montreal at some point. So actually in the end, I was there only 4 months in that position in Finland for Eltel. And then I resigned and said, I'm going to move to Canada. And after one day, they made me a counter offer telling that, please don't go to Canada. And I said, sorry, that's non-negotiable. I'm going to move. And then said, well, if you move, stay with us and work from Canada. So I was like, oh, it's best of all worlds. I can work in Canada while doing the job that I love. So it was really nice. I kind of already learned a lot from the year I was in Indonesia working there, and now I was able to move together with my boyfriend and then still work with the company and I really like my work. So then I moved to Canada. It took like a week or two. They tell me that I'm in charge of Central America, So I started to travel a lot to Cuba, Dominican Republic, Costa Rica, and then we were selling practically telecom network construction projects there, as well as electricity back then. And then it started to sound a little bit like that they would want me to move to Dominican Republic in the end. So then my boyfriend was really like that this is a no-go, that you already spent 1 year in Indonesia. So then I said that no, I cannot do that. And so then my boss was like, okay, then we would need a little bit of help in Dubai. So can you fly there and help for 2 weeks? I was like, okay, fine, I'll go there. And in the end, I actually spent 1 year in Dubai working there in the end. Did someone want to say something? Sorry.
No, no, no.
Okay, so it's okay. No, I don't want to leave the meeting. Okay, here. So then in the end, I moved to, I was 1 year living from my suitcase in a hotel in Dubai. Practically, we were selling a new telecom network construction project for Etisalat and one other teleoperator in Dubai. And then we actually won those deals and start to implement. So we actually had to establish a new company in the free trade zone. So it was a lot of work. We recruited 100 people from outside of the UAE, and it was really like a fast-paced moving years. And so I was supposed to be there 2 weeks, and then they always said that please stay for another month so that we can, get this thing rolling. And then it was then again another month, and again another month, and in the end I ended up being there a year. So then my boyfriend in Canada was really saying that, hey, you got your stuff here, but I don't see, lady is nowhere, or girlfriend is nowhere. So in the end, he said that it's make it or break it. You have to come back home to Canada. And then I said that, okay, I'm coming back home to Canada, and I moved back. And then actually he was quite strict with the fact that we cannot continue like this, that I'm traveling all the time. So then I told Elta that I'm gonna start to look for a new job. So suddenly I was an immigrant, because I could have got married with my back then boyfriend, but I said, no, I don't want to get married because of getting some kind of right to live in Canada. So I rather applied as a skilled worker, which is quite an extensive process for 10 months, and with all kinds of interviews in Paris in French, and they X-ray your lungs, and it's a lot of all kinds of processes that you have to go through because of that. But it was worth it. I got the permanent residency then finally, and then I was able to apply with it a job in Canada. I was doing that permanent residency process already when I lived in Indonesia. So I started there, and then also while I was in Dubai, it was in the process. So then I got the permanent residency. So suddenly I'm like 20, I don't know, 7 years old. I've been doing international career, quite different than many others my age. And then suddenly I'm kind of like, don't have any job, and I'm in Canada as an immigrant. It was really a different and weird situation. I mean, I liked it a lot, but it was I was applying for maybe 140 different jobs. All the job interviews were in French, which was obviously I had learned in Indonesia to speak a little bit of Bahasa, and I spoke obviously English and Finnish and Swedish a bit, but my French had rusted a lot since the exchange years, so it was a real challenge to go on through those interviews. But then I was lucky enough that my future boss back then, so one of the executives at CAE. CAE is a Canadian company, a leading flight simulator manufacturer. So they chose me in the end to become their senior export control specialist. So actually I downgraded from career-wise, but in the end, I just wanted to kind of how to say, I really wanted to stay in have a job and stay in Canada. So I said, I don't care where should I, start this journey in Canada. I'm sure I can, just be bold and try your best. And I'm sure I can do advancements in my career after that. And what I wanted to say that the only things, two things that I or three things that I still stick on, like I said earlier, when I chose Eltel originally, is that I want to work with company where I can work abroad. So obviously I was working in Canada, so outside Finland, which is high tech. Flight simulation was high tech, and then so I rather chose company than a position, and I think that's a wise thing to do. So if you see some company which is really like cool and you love what they do, I would rather apply for that than apply for a position that looks and sounds really nice, but the company is not doing what you really believe in. So, for example, I would never apply for a tobacco making company because it's against my values, and then get a really good position there rather than going for some technology company, for example, who's doing where I have just like a specialist position. So because if you enter a company whose strategy you believe on an industry where you want to work, then you can start to build career on that industry. If you enter into a company where you don't believe you and in the industry you don't like that much or you're not interested, it's kind of a I mean nowadays no more, but it's kind of a decision for life in the sense that I mean, a lot of people do career changes, but it's not so easy. So in every turn that I've done in my career, I've actually done a big career moves, like starting with finance, actually with CAE, I was in the legal department. In the end, I did really this job as a senior export control specialist, like for, I don't know, not many months, maybe 4 months. And then I went to my boss's boss telling that it's too boring. I need something else. And then they said, well, there is now, and this is another thing. If you're working somewhere and you feel that you want to do more, you want to contribute more to the company, and that, or your skills and experience is not well used, you should always say it out loud. Then obviously there are companies who have people, necessarily don't understand it, but at least you put it down there. You said it out loud. Or then there are those who appreciate it a lot and then start to think where they can, let you grow and, use your capabilities better. So thankfully, I had a boss who really understood and saw potential in me. So then I started to actually lead a largest investment program they've had ever made, which was covered 30 different countries. And we were working with very specific US-based law, which is extraterritorial law. And that's related to international traffic in arms regulation, which is army base. Or I was doing this basic job I was doing with the United States government and with different army forces, let's say Egyptian or Australian. So I was doing contracts of US-based R&D transfers. So when you do a flight simulator, which is let's say a Hornet, you need to know how it works exactly. So you need to disclose to this Canadian company all that information, how it's working and how all the night vision goggles or ammunition system works within the simulation, so that you get the real feeling when you're training the pilots. So that's why we were doing contracts, like global contracts between the US states and different army forces of those. And like I said, it got too boring. It's very regulated, highly regulated. So then I got to lead this type of program where we try to do compliant with this rigorously strict law, the company globally. So we made global policy, local procedures, and we implemented 7 different IT systems globally within a very short period of time. And then we did dashboard for management to actually monitor the compliance. So that was really cool project. But then I was at the kind of moment I had been, and I'm telling this very like detailed to you because I think it's actually that's the kind of important part here, to understand the twists and how to make decisions. So I was really happy with CAE, but then I got a couple of larger companies were contacting me and they wanted to recruit me because this was a really niche area, this international trafficking and arms regulation, and a couple of other companies had to do a similar program that I actually led at CAE on their own. So they wanted me to lead it. So they were calling me all the time. And this was the first time I experienced this type of shark attack, if we can say so. So what happened was that I got a call from Pratt and Whitney, which is part of UTC Corporation, which is one of the largest corporations in the world, or a very large one, US-based corporation. So they were calling me and telling that, okay, you haven't been replying to us for 9 months. So can you come and discuss it with us if we double your salary, without even knowing now what your salary is? And I was really shocked because in Finland, you never get, like, nobody will ever say you that. So I was like, oh God. Then I said, okay, I'm really happy with my current job, but obviously, this is something very unexpected. So let's talk. And then I went there to talk, and then they were able to convince me in 3 days that I should join them. So I signed actually an employment agreement with Pratt and Whitney. And my role was to lead similar program that I did at CAE, but on a larger scale. So then what happened was that I went to CAE, and then things started to really happen. So I went to CAE and I told them now I'm going to resign. What happened is that their top management took me off, and the COO asked, like, make a wish list. Tell me what you want in order to stay with CAE. And then I told them, working with legal department, I have no legal background. I don't want to really progress there my career. I want to be closer to customers, like I was with Eltel, and work more in where the beat is, where I can feel the heartbeat of the operations. And then they said, okay, whatever, we can provide you that. But then I was really thin, really Finnish. So I said, if I promised something, I'm not gonna back it up. And then learning point from that is that never sign a deal. If you're happy where you are and somebody's asking and offering you more, then go very openly and tell to that place and that employer where you are that, hey, I got approached, but I really like working here. So could you please consider to, revisit my role or my salary or my benefits, or my working, whatever. I want to do 80% of time work or whatever, I need more flexibility or whatever it is. So that's a second learning period. I said no to the CAE's counter offer that, can you please make a wish list? I said I cannot make a wish list, or I don't, because I've already signed the contract. But later on, I didn't really regret that I was moving on from CAE. I loved the company, but for another reasons, because I ended up my relationship in Canada. So in the end, actually, I had 2 weeks in between this CAE and Pratt and Whitney, and within those 2 weeks, I decided also, after a lot of thought, that I'm gonna separate from my Canadian boyfriend. That it was really like amicable separation, but still quite a big decision, because then I had to decide whether I'm gonna stay in Canada or move back to Finland. And in the end, really, I didn't know which one is the better option. Half of my family were telling me that, and maybe there is a learning to this one as well, but half of my family, like my mother, was saying that don't definitely come to Europe. You will never get that type of jobs here. My dad was kind of looking me with the glasses of 4-year-old child of his, and saying that, okay, I'm gonna just book tomorrow flight ticket to Finland, so you can come back home. So then I said, sorry, I cannot. I still have first of all work to do, but I have also here like my social security. I have my car and my house and everything. So there's lots of things to, I need at least a month to move. So you cannot book me a flight for tomorrow. So, and then I said also to my dad that I might be staying in Finland. No, not in Finland, but in Canada. So then then practically he was really almost mad at me. I had to ask a question from him that who just separated from a long relationship. Was it that you or me? So please cool down. He was so mad at me when I didn't immediately announce that I'm coming back to Finland, despite the fact that I was breaking up. So anyhow, in the end, I'm a twin. And since I'm a twin, I have a twin brother who's 11 minutes older. We've always kind of like everything that we do, we practically, how do you say it? We make it even. So if we cannot make it even, how we always kind of like, got results is that we flip the coin. So here, since I was not really able to make a decision whether to stay in Canada, there were a lot of good things in staying in Canada. My friends were telling that there is no job market in Finland. There is no man market in Finland. I was becoming a single for the first time in my life. And then my Finnish friends are like, definitely you should come to Finland. So everyone was telling me a different story based on their own wishes. Since I was not able to make, a clear, decision that this is definitely better for me, then we flipped the coin in Skype because we used back then in Skype. And then my brother was the official flipper, and my brother's wife, who's one of my best friends, was official inspector, because I was sure that my brother is gonna, kick the coin so that it's gonna land on certain, having a Finland on top. So in the end, it landed on the rug, which has this long fur, and it was a little bit like even, but a little bit turned so that Finland side was here of the coin. So then I said, okay, I'm coming to Finland then. That was a big decision, but and it was really a big turning point. So I told Pratt & Whitney that I'm not going to start in the job. It was practically on Sunday evening, and Monday I was supposed to start the job. So I said, sorry, I'm going now back to Finland, because there was a lot of my sister was pregnant, and there was a lot of reasons. I always missed. I have 11 godchildren. I always missed everything. Like I had to fly to Finland for 2 days to be in wedding of my best friends, and organize all the bachelorette parties from Canada. It was disaster always. So I said, okay, maybe the life is coming easier. I'm not sure if I'm going to stay in Finland, but at least I'm probably going to then maximum move to Europe. So that was the end of an era in Canada, and actually abroad. I had spent almost 10 years abroad when I moved back. It was really a big move, but in the end, now looking back, I'm really happy that I did it. So I thought I didn't know myself. So sometimes, I just want to say that before that, I had been running because of job, like all over the Europe, all over, in 4 different continents. I visited countries like Iran and Moldova, Armenia, a lot of different African countries, countries in Asia, Central America, all kinds of countries. So everything that, I was really like getting a lot of adrenaline boost from the work. But then when I was making decisions on where to live and where to start my life, kind of, I realized, or when we broke up, I realized that it's actually no more my career that is driving my decisions. I was more thinking that now if I stay in Canada, I'm not choosing whether I continue working. I'm choosing where I'm living the rest of my life. And the question is really, do I want to live the rest of my life so far away from my core family? And that was really a big question for me. I wasn't really able to answer it, to be honest, because we flipped the coin. If we would not flip the coin if I was certain. But then I think in the end, I think it was really meant to be that I moved to Finland. I thought I'm going to have a sabbatical year because I had worked so much, but I didn't know myself that well. So after 3 months, I was really going crazy. I was like, no, now I have to get some brain work on the way. So I started to, after the first week, actually, Microsoft headhunted me. My mother was throwing some garden party, and then there was some ex colleagues of hers who were back then working at Microsoft, and they were asking when I'm gonna go back to Canada and blah blah blah, and I told actually I'm not, and then they were like, whoa whoa whoa, so you're free on the market. So then what happened was that Microsoft's HR called me the next Monday. It was maybe Friday, the garden party. So I had been like a little bit more than a week in Finland, even if I said I'm not gonna do any work for a while. Still, I was in the interview with Microsoft after a week or two. But then it didn't really go anywhere because they didn't have a position and I didn't apply for any position. So I was discussing I had maybe 8 interviews or something, and there was still unclarity on the position. After 3 months, first of all, I actually did my master's degree in, so I had the only thing that I had left in my master's degree was the thesis. I did everything on kind of remotely from Indonesia, all the courses, or then I did it I was planning all my summer vacations and all vacations based on the courses that were available for the master's degree. So that's why I just needed to finish my thesis. So then I finished my thesis there, and so I graduated during those 3 months, and then I had bought a like apartment in the condominium, and then I renovated it, and I visited all my friends all around, and I did a lot of stuff in that 3 months, and ending up in a conclusion that I want to just work now. I'm done with traveling and done with studying and done with everything else. And then I started to apply a lot of works, and then in the end, Zalando was offering me a job to move to Berlin, and I called actually this comfort call to Microsoft to thank for all those discussions, but now I'm going to choose Zalando. And then they said, hey, hold on the horses, we're sending you an offer, we want you. And I was really surprised, and then I said, okay. And then they sent me an offer, and I took it. It was a little bit better than Zalando's offer, but also I stayed in Finland. I'm not speaking German, so it was easier for me to kind of not change a country again. So then I started to work for Microsoft as an account executive. So if I started my career in finance, moved to legal, and then I moved to sales. So I always, when I changed company, I also wanted to learn something new. And I was really lucky, and I'm really thankful for those persons who opened the doors, whether it's Eltel, who saw the potential and gave me really big boots where to jump on, and a lot of responsibility, or CAE, where I was immigrant, who for sure had a rusty French back then when I moved back to Canada, and saw the potential again and gave me a huge program to lead. And in the end, Microsoft, I didn't have any background in Finnish companies for many years. I didn't know what's going on with the Finnish market. I had never worked in the IT sector, and Microsoft gave me that job in sales, what I never had done. And I loved working at Microsoft. It was really a lot of fun and a good ride, and I was awarded as one of the best sellers at Microsoft on those years when I worked. So I was really putting a lot of effort there. So it was really great time. I learned a lot from all of those, but also kind of talking about these career changes that don't let the others define where you are capable of. Define it yourself. Even if you don't know something or you don't have experience, if you think that some job is interesting for you, apply for it. I mean, like I said, in Canada, I applied for maybe 150 different jobs. I got to maybe 10%, so I got to maybe 15 interviews, and I got one offer. So don't, even if you said no, just keep on going, and my advice is really don't look the position, look the company. You want to work for a good company, and in the end, then when you do your job good, then you can advance there. It's a lot better than going on a kind of wrong type of company initially. Okay, then I worked for Microsoft for 3 years. I loved it. Actually, I got then I met my current husband. We got first child. And then I also jumped on maternity leave from there. And we have family business, which is Islet. My mother established it in 1998. So my mother and my brother have been working in the company for a long, long time. So my mother and brother already contacted me when I was working at CAE. So in Canada, they asked me if I want to kind of continue the business in Finland. I told them I will never get back to Finland, and I never want to even work with the family business, since I did my bachelor's thesis on family business succession, and it was such a mess in all of the companies that I interviewed. So I thought, no, I never want to mix the family and business, because it's going to be just ruin the family relationships. So then in the end, I had said many times no to my brother and mom. But then when I got my first child, I said, okay, let's do a market research on what's going on. So back then, Islet was still quite much, how would I say, like a company that is doing only SAP. SAP is one of the largest technology companies in Europe, and then market leader in enterprise resource planning. So I was doing a market research how SAP is doing in globally, and what's their strategies. And back then they really had just redefined their strategy and taken a new direction. I realized that there is a lot of potential there. And that's why I then said, okay, I'll take this opportunity and I'll buy our family business. So, okay, then I was part of also this how to say, like, entrepreneurs in Finland, and I was Growth Entrepreneurs Network's management team member for a while. That was just a sidekick, but really what I did first is that I bought the company, or me and my brother, we bought the company from our mother, and then we started to lead the company towards growth and profitability. Then also I joined Sustainable Development Steering Committee at Family Business Network in Finland, and then Software Finland. I've been a board member there for 5 years now. Practically, Software Finland is actually how to say, like a network, but it's association who's representing 700 software companies in Finland. So we are representing whatever is it lobbying or networking or training or whatever. We help our member companies to grow in Finland and abroad, and prosper in the market. So that's our aim. So then these are kind of the, let's say, work. I mean, obviously the main job for me is to be the CEO of Islet, but then also I'm part of Family Business Network and Software Finland in terms of sustainability and leading tech companies, or helping tech companies in Finland. So those are kind of sidekicks of my job. And then last year I did the sustainability studies in MIT. So I tried to take one of the leading universities in Finland, because I wanted to do sustainability studies. And then I graduated actually last year's, was it April, from MIT. But above all, I'm really feeling, how I'm identifying myself. I'm nowadays entrepreneur in the tech industry, and above all, really a mom for 2 wonderful kids. So I have 8 years old boy and 10 years old daughter, who I really much love. So that's my primary thing, and then secondary is being an entrepreneur. So that's my career story. There's a couple of other let's say awards that I've gotten. So Nordic Women in Tech Awards, I was a finalist in 2020. Microsoft awarded me in 2022 as an Influencer of the Year. And then also actually I was a judge in Nordic Women in Tech Awards in 2023. And 2024, I got this award from Microsoft to be the Power Woman in Finland. So these are just sidekicks of all kinds of things that we've done and tried to do. Okay, it's a long version of my career. We've already taken probably 45 minutes, so I'll try to speed up a bit. But here's maybe on the next slides, just wanted to bring some of the stuff that, like I said, in the left-hand side, I was always looking for a company on the left lower part. I wanted to look for a high-tech company, whether it was telecom, whether it was flight simulation, whether it was, technology itself. I wanted to have an international career. I really had an urge to move abroad. So that's why I looked for companies who are not local, but global. And then I wanted to make sure that wherever I go, I have career possibilities there. So really didn't look for any specific company or any specific position. I'm not here. It's not that I want to be in finance, or I want to be in sales, or I want to be in legal or operations or logistics or production. There was nothing line of business related or what was really interesting me. I just knew that this type of company, I want to learn new things, and I don't really care of the role. So that was really my mentality. And then I've been trying to be the change that I want to be. So boldly thinking always, when I do a change, I want to, really rather take the little bit. I think it was well said. Rene Brown said it in the Nordic Business Forum last year that if you're not scared of the move that you're about to make, it's not being bold. You're not bold in doing a move if you're not scared of it. And I think that has been my feeling, a little bit of being scared of doing the move always. And I think that's been the winning formula in terms of learning new stuff. So never settle for less. Obviously, it's important to have courage and be curious. And kind of like passion what you do, and that's why it's the company is more important than the position, because you need to have the feeling that we use a lot of time at work, even if it would be 8 hours or 4 hours a day. It's a lot of hours from the time we are awake. So it's very important that the work is something that you believe in and you like, because really it affects your life. And if you look from the right-hand side bottom, what's really important for me is my family and my friends, hobbies, and the sustainability. Obviously, we should not leave out technology as well. So those are kind of my interests, if we can say so, and my kind of important stuff to me. Okay, then a little bit of Islet. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of it. We do a lot of business to business, so B2B stuff, so probably not, but we are Finnish family business, like over 25 years old company. We have 110 people working for us. And on top of that, we have 250 network consultants, so freelancers that we kind of give work to. We have had in our history over 360 customers. And practically we are operating in 3 locations in Finland, and also we've had a daughter company in Hungary for 25 years this year. Our service portfolio is enterprise resource planning is our biggest line of business. So we do only SAP. SAP is our strategic partner in enterprise resource planning. So we do there lots of big projects. We have continuous services. We do also a lot of different kind of, let's say, pre-studies and assessments and strategies for our customers, how they should go forward with their, let's say, IT landscape or enterprise resource planning processes. And then we have data analytics and AI, which is more technology agnostic business area. There we do a lot of data warehousing projects. We do also data strategies as well as reporting type of projects. SAP has awarded us 4 times in a row as the best partner in Finland, and that's quite an achievement, because we have these small companies that are competing against us, like Deloitte or Accenture or Fujitsu or CGI or Atos. So these are like a global companies who are employing 100,000 people. So we are those are our competitors. So it's quite a big honor to get those awards for that reason. So best one in Finland 4 times in a row, best one in the Nordics and Baltics 2 times in a row in the cloud ERP space. So that's pretty great achievement. If you look at the revenue, so we've been growing. 2015 was the year when me and my brother bought the company. So we were under a million company back then. Our revenue was something like 800,000 in 2014 when we bought the company. And since then, we've been growing this year. Last year, we ended up having revenue of 18.6 million. So we've been growing a lot faster than the competition, and we've been profitable all these years. So, and this year, this is my second 5-year strategy period that I'm leading the company. So 10 years actually this year. Time flies. And we are trying to get 21 million, because we've been overachieving our growth targets, but 20 million officially as a revenue for this year. So that's like shortly Islet. And then when we kind of come closer to diversity and inclusion, I think one of the reasons why we've been performing better than the market is that we actually pay a lot of attention to these things. So we kind of want to, technology is very big enabler in, we can use it, use the tech for good. And I think that, we as a technology company need to use that technology and our skills to strive to make the world a better place for the future generations. So that's why it has been in our DNA since the beginning. Also, since we're a family business, we're not looking like quarterly results, so short-term gain, but rather we always look long-term gain. Long-term meaning that we are partners in our customers' ups and downs, if we can say so. And we've been always the pioneer in diverse thinking and working in the tech world. So if for example, just the fact that we've been, we're 27 years old as a company, and we've always had a woman CEO. I don't know any other tech company who has that. It's something that, I haven't crossed profit areas for sure in if you look globally, but I haven't met one in Finland nor one in the Nordics that would have had that. So it's been really like our approach has been very different. If we go to our diversity and inclusion culture and how it's built, so a couple of words about that. So, and this is where I feel that this is our kind of hidden competitive advantage. So we've been able to build culture that really is inclusive. It's showing in for example, if we look at the statistics only, and the statistics is really like something that is a result of a good work. It's not really anything else. So that statistics of last year, end of last year, our turnover was 5%. Our average turnover means that how many of your people leave the company of all your people. So average turnover is close to 20% in our industry. So we are like, it's like so small, our turnover. And then if we look at, we're looking this diversity from different type of angles. So we look from age angle, then we have created this type of fresh faces ratio. This fresh faces ratio is something that probably no one else has, but anyhow, so we created ourselves. It's a ratio of people who come from other industries, so career changers and fresh graduates that we employ. So some of these people have been working 14 years with us, but they came from some other industry. So we want that at least 1/4 of our people are having totally different background or are fresh graduates straight from the bench that are joining us to bring new type of ideas and new type of way of working and unleashing really the potential of innovation within the teams. Now we have it's almost 31% of our people. So every 3 persons is practically a fresh face who we employ. Our target is 25%. From the age group wise, this is a little bit stupid because it's according to this sustainability standard, CSRD, so the sustainability directive. But we used to have it so that actually those age groups are smaller. But since we wanted to go with the standard, then it's under 30 years old, over 50, and 30 to 50. The idea is that every single group should be at least 10%. So we're lagging behind in this under 30 now. So we have to pay attention to it. It was just because we are growing really fast. Last year we grew 33%. So if I looked at that in June, it was fine. But now since we recruited in the end of the year, more people who were over 30, now it's not fine. So that's why actually this, I'm always being more like walking the walk than talking the talk. But now what I say also to our teams and our management team is that we really need to look at these figures, because if we grow 100% in 1 year, some figure might be really good in the previous year, but after we grown 100%, it might be something totally different. So it's better to kind of look at these values all the time, and then we know where we have some work to do. Nationality ratio, we're looking to have 25%, which is really hard actually, because we're a very Finnish-based company, and Finland is a way too homogeneous. So now we're looking, our target is 25. Usually we've had like around 20. Actually, I think, yeah, it's probably, yeah. So towards the end of the month, everything like on the H2 of last year, we were mostly recruiting probably Finnish based persons. So that's why it dropped to 5 or 4%. But anyhow, so that there we have work to do still, but our target is also very ambitious for a Finnish company, like of this size, I would say. And then employee gender ratio. So we are our aim is to have kind of between 40 to 60 each gender group. So we are men are a little bit over 60, so that there is a little adjustment to make, but not a big one. We are almost on the target. Management gender ratio is on the target, and board and advisory is on the target. Actually, something to look at, so which is totally contradictory than most of our competitors. We have actually almost 60% of our management team is female. So we're a woman-led company, which I'm really proud of, because usually our competitors have like 1 or 2 women in their management teams, and that's why I wanna also measure this in different levels. So it's not enough to measure it on the team level, but we should definitely measure these things also on the management and advisory level. So that's ISLET from the diversity and inclusion metrics wise. But then if we look at the salary levels, so we also look at this. This is we are doing it yearly. So actually we are in 2 weeks, we're going to have the results of February 2025. But anyhow, so we are very much equal. So the gender pay gap usually is good if it's under 5%, because that's just the variation between different working experiences. So we are on each group, we are actually on that variance, which is really good. So we want to also, we don't have to actually report this, but we really want to, be the pioneer and report these things that are not necessarily something that we have to even. And then if we look at our sustainability strategy, so obviously we want to be a pioneers in diverse thinking and working. Also, we want to stop the climate change and succeed sustainably. So we have these on the left-hand side, on the lower corner, there's our values. And then these 3 in the middle are our kind of strategic pillars. So we do a lot of work with people, whether it's social equality and diversity, employee satisfaction, health and well-being, or lifelong learning. And obviously we've aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and we've chosen 3 of them to focus on. So number 5, which is gender equality, and number 13, which is climate action, and then number 12, which is responsible consumption and production. So that's really kind of, these are the 3 pillars where we look at. And even if we're a service company, we also look very closely what we can do to save the planet. That's very important for us. So something that we continuously work on. And this is just an example. So like I said, these three different sustainable development goals we're looking at. Then, for example, we work together with Mimmit Code. I'm not sure if you've heard, but all the women in line, please do check out Mimmit Code. It's a really cool movement, and really, like, actually, I think there's 8,000 women in this community already now. We've been partner for years already with Mimmit Code, and we've done a lot of, for example, we did this coding, let's say, training for them. So we want to kind of create this application which is Move with Purpose. So we've had this Islet Goes Itämeri campaign where we try to kind of encourage our people to come to work with bike or by walking or running, or by moving something else, by car or some electrical vehicle. And then they gather, actually, as part of this charity campaign, we've done it already for years, they gather kilometers. So actually with Mimmit Koda, we did an application. We built with Mimmit, with those ladies or women in this community, we built an application where you can log those kilometers and then kind of look your progress. So we kind of put those together, those two types of charity things. So these were kind of, because they were doing all kinds of applications. So this is like how they looked. This is just some of them. And then also there's lots of other cooperation, a lot of, different kind of social media posts of the events that we've had with Mimmit Koda. We do a lot of cooperation with them. Then we work with SAP related to fresh faces, and this is really like to motivate young talents and career changes to come to technology industry and SAP ecosystem specifically. So that's something that we've done. But also there's lots of other social sustainability aspects. So we have this, for example, we work with the startup Alto Wellness, or I've been discussing in many type of business women's networks, and it's we are part of Microsoft pledge to actually contribute to digital skills, responsible and ethical AI, and diversity and sustainability together with them. And then I've been, for example, talking in the female founders session. So a lot of different kind of events and also kind of, let's say, more longer projects that we've done in terms of, so this is just one aspect of sustainable social sustainability. Okay, any questions so far? I've been talking so long, almost an hour before we go to rolling. I don't know even if we need to cover the last part, maybe a little example there. It would be interesting to hear for you, but any questions at this point? Anyone?
Any questions online? No, I was personally really pleased about your Fresh Face program. We have a lot of international students who have previous degrees already. For example, I noticed there are people who have degrees in law, microbiology, international diplomacy, languages, for example, right now online. So it was really, really nice to hear that you also take people who are changing careers into account. What kind of skills do you think are most important for these students to develop while they are still in school?
I think it's important that you learn to learn. So I think that's very important. That's actually something that we also sometimes try to test for the candidates. So it doesn't really, you don't need to know everything of everything, but important is that you're open for learning, and you know how to search for information. You especially now with AI, it's really easy. But anyhow, like you can make you learn how to make of a lot of information, like what are the key points here? Because there's a lot of noise around in any job in tech industry. So that's really important. Another one is interpersonal skills and how to work in group, how to communicate, how to present. I think that would be what I see in the States, they do a lot of more work with that, but that's also very important. How to present in front of a group, how to, increase your interpersonal skills. Not everyone has to be extrovert. That doesn't mean that, but it's just that it's very important that everyone can work together. That's most important, actually. So you don't have to be super extrovert, but rather that you're able to communicate well in situations. Then I think what we're looking is really motivation, and sometimes it comes to also that people don't expect something or assume stuff, but rather are curious and open and understand that very often we have limited understanding of things. So just to be open and curious. So I would not even mention, specifically that, definitely not that you need to code or you need to have some very special. So it comes a lot to this, what we call, I call them nowadays success skills, not soft skills. So these success skills that you are good with people, and then it's about your own really attitude, ability to learn new things, and also kind of like that you don't. I think it's a learning process for people also to not to put barriers for themselves. So just don't try to see more opportunities than barriers, because that's gonna. There's a lot of things that we don't know, and every job you start, you cannot really know how to do it before you start. But maybe something very concrete is apart from that, where to search for information and how to synthesize it, is that how to use the basic. And this is really funny, but actually I see a lot of difference in this. How this, you should definitely make sure that you know how to use Excel, Word, and PowerPoint. And now I don't mean that the basics, but rather that you push a little bit further to make cool presentations or make a little bit harder calculations, or make the word nice and good, easy to read and well structured. So that's something that I think it's very important to learn in school, because it's just a big advantage no matter what job you do later on. That's part of being convincing. That's part of kind of like understanding what's relevant and communicating it.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, so if I understand you correctly, my next question would have been how these students who are changing careers could use these unique backgrounds and experiences to succeed in tech. But I think you have kind of answered it already.
Yeah. So maybe I got it. So for example, we've had last year we employed a social person who had worked in the kindergarten.
Yeah.
And she has been always interested in tech, but she has never done it for work nor for studies. But she's great with people. So now she has been really well in doing, for example, service management, where you have to face the customers and the partners and our own consultants and get them to do what you need them to get to do. So there's a lot of power in and knowledge and kind of experience and people, which is not necessarily from the same field, but actually from a different field. They might be very good at stuff where we need them to be good at, and what they can benefit from their earlier careers. It's very important also to think that if you want to do a career change, how you can put words on that experience. So one part of it is to understand really what the company is searching for. So for example, if we are looking for this service manager, really what comes down to the service management role is that you're serving a customer. You are the first point of contact. I'm just giving an example for the customer. So whatever customer has problems or tickets or whatever, it comes to you, and then you distribute and you make sure that we provide the quality service towards customers. So really the work is about communication, coordination, well written emails, it's organization skills. So, you know, if you come from different career and you want to change, to really translate it, hey, it's true, I don't necessarily know all from SAP, but I'm confident that I'm able to learn it and I'm really motivated to learn it. However, I think that in this job, you need also, you know, these skills that I just mentioned, and I'm really good at it. I've been practicing it, you know, in my previous job day and from, you know, from the morning till the evening, because it's been part of my job. So kind of like being able to highlight those skills that you have that are relevant for the job that they're looking for, even if it's not necessarily said so straight in the necessary job application, which is then that you have to have 5 years of experience of that technology and 5 years of experience of that. Like, and also my advice is that if they have like that, you have to have 3 years of experience of X and you don't have it, but then the rest of the bullets look okay, just apply. I would apply, because that's what I did in Canada. Don't think that you know better what they need. Let them decide if they need your experience or not. And I think that's a wise thing to do. So let them choose you. Don't just opt yourself out. That's important.
Excellent. Excellent
Yeah.
advice. Like you said, don't put barriers on yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
It can be sometimes kind of like depressing to read those job ads where they have a lot of bullet points there saying you have to have 10 years of experience and stuff like that, but still apply. That's a good advice. Just do it.
Exactly. And I mean, it's in the end their decision then. Both Microsoft or, for example, CAE, I don't think that, you know, if I had started think that I would have to apply and you know, and I would have to meet all their requirements. And if I don't, then I cannot apply. I would never have sent any, you know, emails or applications to them. So in that sense, I think it's very important that you don't kind of opt out yourself, but rather let them opt out if they want to. But they're better, because for example at CA, they were like, oh, you've done already one ERP project, that's perfect. They didn't say that in the application at all, but they still appreciate all kinds of things that I had put there, even if they didn't say it out loud. The job description is very short. Also, companies, you know, the setup of the team changes all the time. So, you know, the roles are changing. They might think that, okay, we want this position, but then when these two people tell that, you know, we want to do something else, then they need here something totally different. So, you know, you never know better than them. So let them decide. So I think that's very important. You know, so just apply, and especially if you like the company, and be active, call them, you know, ask them, you know, if you are not chosen, say that, hey, what can I do? You know, what kind of background or what kind of training or what do you need more? You know, what should I do in order to get this place next time? You know, really challenge them also to tell you that. So that's so then you can kind of, for the next one, you know, again better.
Yeah. What do you think about the fact that many job ads have one bullet point which says you need to have fluent Finnish skills?
Yeah, that's really typical of Finland.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there it's and to be honest, what I've seen now is that we have, like I said, we had last year around 20% non-Finnish speakers. It's a lot easier, to be honest, to work in English. Even those who have actually practiced their Finnish in very good level, language is so important that you have to be almost fluent, or it would be good to be almost fluent in order to really work with at least complex stuff that we do. I mean, if there is, I would call them and ask, is it really like a mandatory? But if it is, then I mean, I understand, because sometimes, you know, for example, we have a public sector customers who don't speak any any other language than Finnish. So it's impossible for somebody who's speaking English only to work with them. But then we have multinational companies who are, having only English as their working language, then it's totally fine. So on the other hand, I would, question if that's really a requirement or it cannot be anything else. And if it is, then I would if it's a requirement like that, is mandatory for some reason. I'm not now taking a stand on that if it's stupid or not, or if it's wrong or right, because it depends on the situation. Probably even if we've been very small company, our working language has always been English. Even if we had like 8 persons, of which 6 is Finnish and 2 Hungarian, we always made sure that it's English. All the presentations are done in English, and all the materials are done in English, and all the communication is in English, except for publicly the customers where we have to do it in Finnish. But not every company is like that. I think we are kind of an island in Europe, because we can only fly to Europe except for the northern Sweden and Norway. But so that's why I think we're not as multicultural as maybe other European countries. But yeah, so I would maybe, this is just my personal, maybe not objective view, but I would, if somebody is stating that their Finnish is mandatory, I would not necessarily apply for that. Because I don't want advise people to use their time badly. I would maybe call them and say that sounds like a perfect job for me. Is it really mandatory? If they say yes because of X, Y, Z, then obviously it's not worth the time to apply.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to answer because it depends really on the company.
Yeah. Well, there's a question or 2 questions actually in the chat. Do you know what position might be a good fit for someone with customer service experience and an interest in technology? And another question, what level of Finnish is usually required?
Yeah, so maybe the first one. So if we talk about with the background of customer service and interest in technology, I think a lot of doors are open. So not sure if you are more interested in I think there's this sales and marketing. So those people who are very good with customers, if they have this kind of customer service, can be kind of proactive or reactive. If it's more proactive, I think their sales capabilities, so sales positions, sales support positions, pre-sales positions, marketing positions, if you like marketing. So those type of positions I would look at. But then also if we look at not just sales, pre-sales, marketing, but rather the delivery part of so anything that is customer facing. There's lots of obviously there is these service centers also in the technology industry where you can work. But I think also, like I said, for example, service managers are very often those who communicate with customer and coordinate. Then maybe I would think that is project management something that you're interested. There you need a lot of organization coordination skills, interpersonal skills. So that would be probably a very good option. There, obviously, you probably would have to start from being first project coordinator and then moving on to project manager. So if you haven't done it before, but I would say that type of skills. And in the end, if you get inside, we have, for example, one person who was working on customer service. So she came in actually through Mimit Godas, this woman code program, and she's like a star. She's really good. Anything she touches turns gold. So first she started, I think, as like some coordination things. Then she started actually as a functional consultant, so configuring the system, learning by doing, and through certifications that we provided. And now she's really like one of the lead consultants in one of the cloud technologies that we have in sales process. So also if you know some process, like whether it's procurement process or sales process or production process or finance process, I think that's also very important information in the tech industry, because then you can help customers in developing that industry with the help of technology. that function, whether it's that line of business with the help of technology. So hopefully I answered well that. And the second question was English level, Finnish level. That I think, yeah, it depends. So those who, if I see how it goes on at, so we have people who don't know at all English, Finnish, some who know, have like a rusty Finnish, and some who are fluent in Finnish. Obviously, those who are fluent work with also those public sector customers. But then I would say, like I said earlier, yeah, I can't answer really for others, but since we do work with quite complicated stuff, even if people would be fluent in the same language, sometimes it's hard to understand because it goes so deeply in the processes. And it's not hard to learn, by the way, but once you learn, it just takes time, maybe 4 years, and then when you learn, it's easier. But anyhow, so that's why I think it's rather more important that you're fluent in the language that you talk than that you try with rusty language to communicate hard stuff, which are even usually misunderstood with fluent speakers. So that's why if we would have to have an option of talking in Finnish for a customer, so that one is more rusty Finnish, another one is fluent, rather than both speaking English, I would definitely opt for English speaking, because otherwise you just get a lot of misunderstanding easily. But yeah, so level of Finnish needed depends on the company and on the position. I really cannot answer that. It's so dependent on what's the setting.
Yeah. And another question. Thank you for sharing your career story. I find it quite interesting and motivating. I would like to know, did you have a mentor at any point in your career? If yes, could you share with us that experience?
Yeah, I have several mentors actually. I started, if we go a little bit back in my career, so I started my career at Eltel. Back then I didn't have really a mentor, but when I entered CAE, and there was lots of things that I didn't really mention because of the time wise, but at CAE actually I got a mentor, and sometimes these are a little bit pure luck, and this was really pure luck. So I was actually doing this CrossFit type of training on the gym next to CA's office, and I went there really early, like 6 a.m. to train before the work, because there in Montreal there's huge traffic jams, so I hated it. So I went before. I didn't want to start my working day at 6, so I went to train for a little bit, like 1.5 hours, and then I just took a shower and walked to work. And one of the management team members of CAE, which is quite a large company, were actually training on that gym also in the morning. So she approached me and said I was doing some CrossFit training with other my team members from CAE, and she came that, whoa, you're really the best personal trainer in this gym. And I was like, sorry, but I don't work for the gym. I'm just working for CAE, that is close to next by this company. We're just doing this for fun together. And then she was really like, oh, really? I worked for CAE too. And then we said, hi. And she was like, I'm Natalie. And I was like, hi, I'm Janina. And then the like week 2 after, we crossed again, and then she probably had looked at what I do, and then I was really having the position that I had as a senior expert control specialist. Was just a normal position in the grassroots level. So even okay, then I got quite a lot of attention when I started to lead the larger program, but it was before that. But anyhow, so then she said that I would like to mentor you. And I was really shocked. I didn't even know who she was. And then I was like, okay, so what do you do at CA? Like, I'm in the management team. I was like, what? Okay, so then we started a mentoring relationship. It was really, really, really nice. I really appreciate it all. So that came through luck. She taught me a lot how the company works. how I should look at things, how I should get better in my strengths, how to depict my weaknesses and understand them better, and maybe not, get stuck with my weaknesses. So Natalie was great in, we had a lot of discussions and a lot of, I don't know why, but she saw a lot of potential in me and gave me a lot of, gave me a lot of good advice in going forward. Maybe mentioning at Microsoft, I made a list because it was first sales position. So honestly, I knew already that I need, help. So I made actually a list that I was like, I want to understand Microsoft sales process. I want to understand technology. I want to understand pricing. I want to understand the competitive landscape or towards other, tech companies who are competing with us. All these things. So I said, okay, give me the names who are, best salespeople at Microsoft. I want to, have them 3 months as my mentor. Here are the list of 5 things that I need to, go through with them. Give me the person who knows a lot about technology. I need a geek who's telling me, of these technologies in a little bit more deeper level. That mentorship lasted for 6 months. We met every second week for 2 hours. So for some, I made this type of really this is 6 months or 4 months or 3 months or a year, and I want to meet you every month, once a month, 2 hours or 3 hours, or every second week, 2 hours or whatever. I made kind of a plan, and then I approached these persons and I asked first my boss to tell who are the best ones, and then I approached them and asked if they can serve as my mentor, and here is what I want to learn and go through with you. So that was one type of mentoring. Then when I started as an entrepreneur, my biggest fear was that I'm jumping. At Microsoft, I had to sell every year for 20 million. That was my quota, how we speak in sales. So for 20 million euros, I needed to sell every year in order to make my target. And practically, when I moved to Islet's turnover was 800,000. So practically almost nothing in my eyes, because I've been selling for 20 million every year. So my biggest fear was there that I'm becoming blindsided on, what's really happening in the big world. Because on Microsoft, you get a lot of influence on 100 different ways. It's a global company. They have a lot of trainings. You meet a lot of new people. You travel a lot. So you get a lot of a lot of information all the time of new things. And then when you start to run your own company, which is very small, you have 7 people there. They all look up to you and look for, if they have a question, they look answers from you. So it's kind of like a totally different setting. So my fear was that actually people are asking me questions and I'm not the best one to answer, but I'm the only one who's there to answer, so I need to answer those. So that's why I already understood since the beginning that I need to do something about this and have mentors. So I've had actually for 10 years one mentor who is a CFO profile background. Then he has been great, and nowadays we're friends, but he's still mentoring me totally. And he's like, it's a nice friendship because he could probably be my dad, who's having such a big age difference, but still he's totally my mentor and really professional, and always knowing knowing me nowadays so well that his advices are really golden, because he knows how to adjust it to my background and my views. So this type of mentorship is different than this 3 to 6 months, because then you get really a mentor who can, no matter what happens, I'm looking for this type of charismatic leaders who've seen a lot as a mentor now, because it's no matter, I don't want to learn just the sales process or the technology. I want, whatever I have in my mind, I want to brainstorm. So he has been that type of help to me. Then I kicked off the advisory board, where I took 2 members in 2020. So that's been kind of my mentoring sounding board as well. We changed the advisory board in actually end of last year. A little bit, 1 went out and 2 new came in. I wanted to renew it. So again, a little bit of new mentors. And then I also, in the end of last year, I asked one of the, don't know if you know a company called Solita, but Solita's ex-CEO, I asked him to become my mentor, because I said we are now, like I showed you, we grew to 20 million. We are now doing strategy for 2030. And we want to grow to a 50 million company by 2030. And in doing so, I wanted somebody who has done that before. So who has experience of different steps in going from, let's say, 10 million company to 100 million company, or 20 million company to 200 million company. So I wanted someone who has done that. So then I was really searching for my network, and in the end, really ranking the options and then calling the number one that I saw most potential. So now I have practically 2 mentors, and then I had the advisory board, 3 persons who are advising me on top of that. So yes, definitely seek for help, seek for mentors. Think whether you need, if you need specific subject, I would suggest you to take a mentor for limited amount of time. I think that's also easier for those mentors to say yes for. To agree that, okay, I know how much I need to commit to this. But then if you are doing a bigger change, or you need to lead some new area later in the career, I would also think of who could be a kind of a lifetime mentor. And it might come even naturally on some position. It might be, your first boss, and then you move on, and then you actually, he or she knows you so well that you can always go back and discuss of any kind of things that you have in your career. So I've had some friends who've had that. But very important with mentor is that if it's a lifetime member, and I call 10-year mentor a lifetime member, it might not be a lifetime mentor, but it's important that you personally, the chemistry is good. So actually that you have the trust between you, and you trust and appreciate, and this is like, and there's like full visibility and openness, transparency in the discussion, then it's going to be most fruitful. Okay, long answer for a small question, sorry.
But just ask. You can ask for.
Yeah. So this was also mine. So I was, for example, listing this a lot of stock exchange companies, CEOs and chairmen, and then when I got that, okay, this is my rank number 1, I just took the phone and called him personally. I was like, okay, hi, I'm this person, and I would like to discuss of this. Can we have a first, more like a talk? And if you're free, and if he would say no, then I would be just calling the second one. Yeah. So it's fine that he's saying no. Yeah, and it's nothing to do with me. I would say that it's more like on every person's side. Sometimes, people are busy. Sometimes they don't have the capability. They know that they cannot give really what is needed for this type of mentorship. So it's understandable that people cannot do it always. Then you just go for the next one.
Yeah. Well, the next question is actually, if you don't mind, there's a person who would really want to speak.
Yes, so it's me. If you don't mind, I really want to speak and just share my 2 cents. Yeah. Oh,
I'm trying to find from.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you, but I can't see you. I don't know how to make.
Yeah, because I am sorry. I turn off the camera. If you
No,
don't
it's fine.
mind.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I thought I'm seeing you. That's why I started to look for you, but it's fine either way.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for sharing your story too. So here I want to give my 2 cents too. I feel like after hearing your story, I feel like I'm in the same boat. Because I'm also looking for a place for the rest of my life that I can retire. I feel safe, and especially I want to work abroad. Anyway, back to working tech. I'm kind of on the fence of switching up my career. So I mean, working as a software developer or just the related tech roles. I don't want to face layoffs in my midlife. I mean, especially in this kind of economy, and a lot of countries are now in recession. And I know outsourcing and AI and more people, they swarm in this industry. And also microaggression and whatsoever. I just feel like those things really kind of deter me. And it's not that I want to climb that, corporate ladder or something like that. I mean, as a Gen Z, I just feel like this kind of life maybe doesn't suit me. I feel like kind of suffocating. And I mean, I used to think I want to make things that people will use with the people I can vibe with. Meanwhile, I can share some new technologies or findings without thinking about like those unnecessary things like workplace politics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And so I want to say I would like to know what kind of attitude tech companies is they are holding towards AI integration and employment practice in the current and future technological landscape. I know some companies they are already freezing their hiring, they are replacing people with AI, and it's so I'd like to hear your insights on this matter.
Yeah, it's true. How would I say it? It's what I see is happening is kind of two things. AI is coming into practice. That's true, and I think even more than previous years, we see real practical implications of AI in the companies, and I think that's very welcome and that's really good. However, I'm sure that it's not going to replace people's work. It's just going to change it a little bit how we work. So, and I think if for a good direction. How I really see is that it's true that there has been in, for example, Finland and now a lot of layoffs. To be honest, some other industries have been on their knees and struggling for years already since start of Corona, so 4 years. So kind of like we've been just in a bubble in our industry, which has been going steadily up and up and up all the time. So in that sense, I think what comes to layoffs, not so sure if that's because of AI. It's more because of the macroeconomics at the moment. I'm quite sure that people start to recruit again when the macroeconomics start to pick up. But certainly we should not just think that nothing will change at work. Rather, I think, for example, you as a software developer, the important thing is that you start to use AI to boost your work. So if you think of layoffs or something like that, I'm sure that if you're able to show that I'm able to do 3 times more work because I use effectively AI and I'm really like keen on learning how to use it to boost my work, I'm sure, and or showcasing it to others as well. It's really and teaching them as well to do it. I think that's the key thing in every job. So those who are able to kind of, it's going to be like a tool, like I don't know, Word, that you used to write it on paper, and now you can do something else and better and faster. It doesn't mean that, I think more things will be we get done more things with the help of AI, and some, bulk work is going to be obviously automated. Even before AI, we already automated. It's not AI that is kind of necessarily automated. It's gonna take like 5 years still to actually have those type of data structures underneath that AI can really leverage a lot of more potential. But because the data is all over, and since if it's not kind of somehow reliable data, then AI cannot really work on those type of environments without errors. But all this to say is that I would see more the potential in AI and be really excited and say that, hey, I'm gonna nail this. I'm gonna, all the time search for information how to use better AI, different kind of AI tools in my current work, and that's gonna immediately kind of translate into a better productivity and kind of like overachieving also others in the work. So I think that's the key. So those who are kind of reluctant to understand how to work better with AI, I think there is a risk, yes, that they will be left out of work. But those who are, want to do their work together with AI, with the help of AI, I think they're in great positions also in the future. So I would see it as more like opportunistically providing more potential, and we will do like a lot nicer and more added value work than we were doing before. I don't know if I answered well your question.
Oh, thank you. I mean, yeah, I understand AI can boost productivity. But I'm thinking like, doesn't that mean we need less people to do the same amount of the work?
No, I think the change is gonna just go faster. So I think the thing is that exactly that we do more, and that would be actually good for economics as well. So we can do more work, right, with the help of AI. So I think it's same as we turn to industrial age. Still, people work. They used to, be in the back of the horse and on the field, and and then they just ditched the horses and had a tractor, and now they have like robots doing the stuff. So still people have the work. I don't think that there's going to be a situation when there's like a mass unemployment because of AI. I think that's just the character of the work is going to change, and I think key in that is that how you utilize AI within your work, like you utilize all kinds of other technologies and as well.
Very good point. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You had still something to show us, so tell us.
Yeah, I can maybe show this. This is really like a woman-centered thing, but I just wanna. So, as a maybe last thing, I just wanted to, and this is probably like more like a diversity. I think it's very important that we think how we talk about things, and especially that comes when for those who are privileged. And I'm also privileged, don't get me wrong. But anyhow, so if we look at the women in tech stats in the workforce, so if we look at the kind of economic gender gap, so first of all, obviously in Latin America or in Europe, it's rather small compared to, for example, if we look East Asia or for example Middle East or North Africa. Then so if we look, at the current basis, nothing would change when the economic gender gap is closed. Really, it's like 130 years, so it's crazy big time. And then really what Women in Tech Network figured out of kind of lack of representation is that 72% of women in tech report experience of kind of not understood or not really like visibly showing prevalent pro culture at work. So and like I said, that's why it's important also that the management level figures are, so it's not enough to look at gender ratio as a total, but rather that what is it at C-suite level. So that's why at the moment it's 1/4 of leaders, for example, in the C-suite level are women. But this comes also to nationality. I think it's very important to look in every single level at it, and at least understand what it is and why it is so that's one thing. But then I wanted to give you an example. This is very specific example, but this gave me a lot of I would say like headache. No, virtually I got a little bit mad about this, but anyhow, I just want to kind of give you some examples. So for example, being let's say it's very important to understand, like I said, your own biases. So when I moved to Indonesia, for example, I had in my head this, I've gone through the leading business school in Finland, and I'm from West. And then when I went to Indonesia, I understood that absolutely nothing works the way I thought it works. And I really became there as an idealist. And this experience turned me really to be a realist, so that these people don't think the same way as I think. And actually, they have very good reason for that. So the world is not run fully on the way how I've taught it runs. And that's actually, I think that we need to really, there's a lot of people still, especially also in the management levels, and in the companies, that think that world runs the way they've learned it run, and their view is really narrowed. And then maybe another example, when I worked at Eltel and CAE, I was really like, we were really like expatriates building telecom network in Central Java for Eltel. I was the only woman in the management team. I was like the only woman in the whole 5 million city in Semarang. And you know what? It was really an advantage for me because for that reason that, you know, I was always listened to. I was always the one whose name was, you know, remembered. So it was a big understanding, but also it made me broaden my worldview to understand that actually others are a lot more disadvantaged. And same actually applied with CAE, because I was in very like high-tech industry. So most of my co-workers globally were men. And so many people might think that, you know, or start to build a narrative around that if you feel those that type of experiences that you are just so special, that's why you are there. And then these, for me, it was really like I kind of realized that, oh God, this is something that we need to really work on to make it kind of equal. I'm giving you a third example. I was working, like I said, I did my studies at MIT. And last year in Boston, we had this, you know, women's evening where we went to eat with other, you know, women at the cohort. And then I had one person sitting next to me, and I was like, okay, so where are you from? And he's like, I'm from the States. I was like, oh, are you originally? I was like, no, I'm from Pakistan. I was like, okay, so how did you end up in Pakistan? And she's like, arranged marriage. I was like, okay. And that was really like, I was really surprised because she was totally like, you know, those were, by the way, who worked with MIT, it was this kind of for senior executives, this program. So all of their work, like kick-ass people who have been making through their lives. But then I was like, so trying to ask, you know, starting to ask like, okay, so how did you want to marry these guys? Like, not really, but my parents decided, and you know, and then I had to, and I was like, okay, and you know, I was like, okay, have you, you know, been with any other men before? No, then you know, this was my first one, and I was really shocked, and you know, understanding that, oh my God, I've had such a privilege in living in Finland, and you know, coming with this background. So it's important for everyone to understand, you know, where others come from and be kind of curious, understand their own standing there. For example, this lady in the end divorced, and now she's really like happy and have kids, and you know, living best life in. And he's also said that he's not kind of mad at his at her parents, because you know they try to do the best for their child, even understanding what's best for her. Another one in from Colombia, I started to discuss with her, and then I was asking like why there is such a big difference with that Colombian women are all working, but like if we look at the, for example, women from Chile, they do not work, they're more like home, so they're neighboring countries. Why there's so much difference? I started to ask this lady, and then she's like, yeah, there is very simple question, simple answer, because in Colombia there is drug cartels and all the men are shot, so women have to work. And I was like, what? I mean, obviously I knew that there's drug cartels in Colombia, but I was really like, what is this? So then I was like asking really bit like shy, like, okay, but did that happen to your dad? It's like, yes, my dad was shot as a, you know, in some drug cartel war, like as just a civilian there. But you know, I was really shocked. So that's, you know, and those are like sitting in the same, you know, table with me and telling their stories, and these are like women who are super successful in their lives and done amazing careers. I had another one in Saudi Arabia. We don't have time to go through, but anyhow, so it's just to understand that some people are really more privileged. Sometimes the privilege is kind of for good, sometimes it's for bad, but there's also, you know, underprivileged people, and our work is to help them in succeeding and getting, you know, finding their own potential. So what I've learned also by running Islet is that once we worked a lot with the culture and a lot with the diversity thing, and really I've been actually sometimes quite hard also for the management team. I don't want any explanations that, you know, your team is having only men. Just fix it. I want people from elsewhere, you know, nationality wise. I want women to be there. I don't care how you do it, but deal with it now. And then, you know, I think that's really like the competitive advantage of our company, because we're so diverse compared to many of our competitors. And it's also creating kind of auto-correcting culture within. So, you know, though if you have two like homogeneous people, then they start to, you know, create a culture of like this hit bro type of culture, and then, you know, it's even harder for others to come, or they feel really anxious or not okay to be part of that culture. So I think, for example, what I've seen, I don't need to fix those things. If somebody's saying unnecessary things on a not nice way to another one, let's say in a pre-Christmas party, there is other people around the table who are telling this person that to shut up and stop talking like that to the colleague. So I'm like, thank you, because that's the kind of auto-correction what happens when you build diverse teams, that their people stand up for each other. When you have one group too much represented, it doesn't happen because those who are minorities, they don't want to be loud because they are already looked differently within the setting. So, or they just start to kind of feel that they are not welcome to say, they cannot say, it's going to affect the, you know, their future career, let's say. So I've been really like witnessing many situations when I've been always like stepping in and going in between, but actually the team members have been doing that for me, and not for me, but for the person who's there, but instead of me. So it's been really nice to see that when you build truly diverse teams and diverse culture, then actually it's auto-correcting it. So actually the high standard is keeping up because the colleagues are already there to see that it's really important to have that. It's Finnish, I'm sorry, but this is talking about tech bro, and this was I've been asked in many magazines, and I've been giving quotes or my opinions, but this was something that I was really thinking, should I do this? Because I was thinking that, okay, maybe they will just give me like some how would I say, like a stamp on the head that this is a person who's you know, saying this and that and blah blah blah. So I said to myself before that, now I stopped thinking like that. I will have to, you know, make voice to these people and make voice also to, so that we can see where the problem really lies. So I hear a lot from my co-women in the tech industry in CX level that, you know, I need to grow a thicker skin. You know, I have a thick skin, so, you know, I don't care what they say to me. And then my answer nowadays is that I don't want you to have a thicker skin. You should be able to work here in this industry without thicker skin. So then there was actually a big article on the leading IT magazine in Finland, which is called TV Magazine. So I just wanted to show you here on the right-hand side the narrative difference. So kind of like what I told, I didn't know that who others were as a part of the interview, and this is not to even to kind of put myself on any kind of podium. I just want to show the narrative difference, which is really stuck in our heads. We need to, if we are privileged and underrepresented groups, we need to understand that we are privileged in underrepresented groups, and we need to bring the others up in the same underrepresented groups. So what happened here is that I'm just going to freely translate. So I was asked a lot of questions. So I told that unfortunately we have a lot of, in Finland, we've been told to, if something bad happens, we have this sisu. So, you know, we have to keep on doing what we do and keep on trying, which is good. And in, you know, like especially like growing the skin. So I said, this time is now over. The problem is there that a lot of people understand that there is tech pro culture. So they register it, but they don't really think how they can change it themselves. And I think it's exactly the majority. So this homogeneous group. So in this case, for example, in tech industry, it's men who have the means to impact on this. So I think we should never, you know, tolerate any type of harassment or misconduct, and definitely if we see this type of thing, we should raise it up for the other who's a victim and ask the others around, is it okay? And whatever happens, it's never the victim's issue. And then there was another lady who was really, well positioned and also in the same privilege group than I am, kind of leading another company. And then what he said in the same interview is that I don't think I've been ever kind of like there has been any bad things happening because I'm a woman, and only thing that I left out is sauna, and I don't want to go with my men colleagues to sauna. And then he's saying that women should be more bold and bring themselves more transparent and first believe in themselves like men do. And if you don't if you don't tell of your own skills, then nobody else is going to believe in them, and you should go and show your face everywhere. So this is really like that this problem is because of women, which is like ridiculous, because the point is that the doors are not open for those underrepresented groups. They don't get to those arenas. They don't get to those discussions even. So actually, it's not the women's fault, or it's not those groups who are underrepresented, their fault. It's rather the fault of those people who really are part of the majority. They should start to change it. So they have the means and the keys in their hands who can actually open the door. So that's why I think that, in that I was bringing this up already in one other event, but it's very important to understand also that when those, for example, if I've been jumping up the ladders as a CXO, and it doesn't matter at which level people work, but we should still understand that some people are more privileged than the others, and we should equally open the doors for those underprivileged group, and not just, by not registering it, open the doors also always for the majority representatives. So that's my kind of last what I wanted to say here. So it's important, the narrative, what we are. So my wish is that everyone will ask those uncomfortable questions and understand and reveal the stereotypes and be vocal, and most importantly, act. So not just talk. So that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is really inspiring. Has been a very good session. Very good. Yes, I'm sure we all agree. Actually, I will stop the recording now.